On today's episode of How the Tire Turns, we're going to dig into something a little bit different. We're going to take a look at tire balancing, something that not a whole lot of people put much stock into, but I've got a method that's worked great for me over the years, and I want to show you guys. So conventional tire balancing is usually done with a couple different ways. You can actually see back in here, there's these little weights. They're actually stuck on. They have a double-sided adhesive tape, and they stick onto the wheel. And then you also have the clamp-on style. They clamp to that outer lip of the wheel. For some reason, at some point, my wheels were set up. The guys ended up using multiple types of weights on there, but I'm going to show you what I like to use. So why are we even talking about tire balancing today? Reason being is that these weights, these little clamp-ons and the little stick-ons over there, they work. They do a decent job when you've got brand new tires and you're sticking to the roads. They hold up just fine. Problem is that if your rig goes off-road at all, every now and then you're actually going to tear a chunk of one of these lugs out of the tire. When you tear a chunk out of the tire, you've actually changed the balancing of the tire. So you can start to get more wobble out of the tire. It's not going to ride the same going down the road. So every time that you go out, if you hit the rocks, maybe you're getting through some nasty ruts and stuff like that, you can actually change how your tire needs to be balanced. And those clamp on and stick on weights, they're not going to compensate for it. But I've got a way that does compensate, and I've never had an issue with it. I've been doing it for years, and I've balanced everything up to 42-inch tires, 42-inch Swampers, bi-sply tires down the road. Once you get past the flat spots when they're cold, they balance right out, no problem whatsoever. But I've had really good luck with this, and I want to show you guys. What we're going to use today for balancing of the tires and doing it on our own at home, saving a few bucks there, is going to be tire beads. These guys right here. This is the Magnum brand. I've been pretty happy with them. I've been using them for a couple of years now. In the past, I've heard of guys using golf balls. I've heard of guys using tennis balls. Personally, I've even used BBs, for all those tin can hunters out there. Bunch of those in there does just fine, does kind of the same thing. The problem with those is that those I wouldn't recommend for anything that you have TPMS sensors in. These ones, if you go on their site, you do check them out. They're actually going to say they are made to work with TPMS sensors, so they're not going to damage your sensors, which that can get expensive if you start having that kind of problem. So that's definitely something to make sure that you're checking out. So what are tire beads? They're just like they sound like. They're a bunch of tiny little beads. Let's take a look in the cup here. So I dumped them all in so you can see, but they're basically just a bunch of little glass beads, just little balls there. And we actually are going to throw these inside the tire. So we're going to break the bead, break this whole tire bead here, and then push that away from the wheel, and then we're going to dump the beads down inside. So the beads are going to sit inside the tire. When the tire is sitting still, not moving, the beads are just going to sit down here on the bottom. And then once the vehicle starts driving and they spin up, centrifugal force, big word for you, is going to throw them out. It's going to kind of just disperse them out, and it actually disperses them right where they need to be. And by them dispersing like that, that's what's going to balance the tire. Again, if you rip off a chunk of the tire, that's going to take your tire out of balance. However, the beads are then going to distribute differently the next time that they spin out. So they're actually going to compensate for any changes in your tire, no matter what's going on with that thing. That works pretty well. Here's something I wanted to show you guys. So I used to work for an off-road company. I was at Easter Jeep this last year, and I just happened to run into Tony Carvalho. If you've ever heard of him, he's actually one of the lead engineers on the Jeep Wrangler and JT projects. Super cool guy to bump into. Got a lot of great information from him. My Jeep was actually sitting at home this year, and I was in one of the company vehicles. But he gave me a little bit of insight and stuff to some fun little things on my Jeep to check out. One of them was this right here, and I thought it was a neat one that you guys might like. So if you look on the bottom side of your Rubicon rock rail, rock slider, call them whatever you want to call them, there's actually a spot there for the high lift jack to sit so that it's not going to slide out. So here on the bottom side of your Rubicon rock sliders, right here under the passenger door, driver door as well, let that focus there, you can actually see there's these little bumps. There's one on the backside there too. That's actually for the high lift jack to sit there so that the jack doesn't slide off. So once it's under tension and it's pushing up on that slider, it can't slide past those bumps. First part of debeading a tire is making sure you got all the air out of there. If you don't take the air out and you go ahead and pop the bead on it, you're going to get a little bang that you're not really ready for. Now that all the air's out, we can go ahead and pop the bead on this thing. Now on this one, because we're just adding something to it, we're not actually taking the tire off. We don't need to completely remove the tire from the wheel. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the inside bead. And the reason being is the outer bead is actually pretty close, again, to that TPMS sensor. And I don't want to break that. Those things, they're not super expensive, but if I don't have to replace them, it saves me kind of money too. Now that the bead's broke, you can see we can shove my toe right in there. We can come over and we can get our beads measured up. So I'll just zero the scale. And again, we're just going to come up with a number in here. And what I'm doing on these, I'm just doing 6.5 ounces. I mean, some of these tires I'm pulling off 13, 14 plus ounces of weight on there, which in my opinion is way too much weight. And that just kind of means there was a lazy tire tech. But I'm going to go ahead and do 6.5 ounces of the balancing beads. Again, these distribute so well, and then are also working further from that center point. So it's going to take less weight on the beads to get us taken care of versus what they were running with the lead weights. So we're just shooting for about 16.5 ounces. Then we can bring them over, load them in, but I'm going to have to set you guys down because I'm not that talented to hold the camera and do this at the same time. Now all you do, push down on that bead, dump in the tire beads. And you just want to make sure that they all go down into the tire. So you may end up having to push down a good chunk. There they go. Just feed them down. And that's the sound that you hear when you slow down. It's kind of funny. It makes me laugh every time. And you want to make sure that none of them are sitting on the tire bead between the bead and the wheel, because then your tire won't seat. That's no good. I wanted to show you guys this one real quick. So this is one tire. This is that driver front. This is all that lead weight that came off of that thing. You can see that we're sitting at 14 and change ounces on that thing. We're talking almost a pound of lead weight on there. This is what we're going back in with. So the weight of the cup that's in there, it's about 6.5 ounces of our little balancing beads. But all this weight, Tire Tech's painted them black to just kind of cover them up, just keep slapping more and more weights on there. And I don't know, train wreck if you ask me. But we're going back with a whole lot less that'll do a whole lot more. Now, if you've never rebeaded a tire, it's not that big of a thing. It can be a little bit nerve-wracking the first time that bead pops back on, but it's no biggie. One thing on it, work smarter, not harder. So what I always like to do when I go to rebead a tire, put a bucket right inside the center of the tire, and then just lean it over, and then stand up. Now what that does is it takes the inner bead of the tire, and as the tire is just hanging here, the weight of the tire is pushing down on it, it's pushing the bead down onto the lip of the wheel itself. So it's putting it in contact, so you go to put air in, it's not going to be blasting out the bottom. So it's going to just help it to seat down. Now, throw the valve core back in. Next up, throw some air in. And you can hear as it's filling, the air is not blasting out past that bead. So with letting it hang like that, it's letting the air stay in and just help it seal up and start building pressure. There's a pop. And then just go ahead and fill your tire up to the pressure that you like. Pull it back on to the next one. There you have it. not too bad, pretty easy. Cost about 20-25 bucks in the balancing beads. Probably took hour and a half maybe, do all 5 tires and wheels. You just kind of get in the rhythm and it's not too bad. Pulled a ton of weight off each of those wheels. I had one that was 13 and a half ounces, one that was over 14. And now I've got 4 ounces in each of them. Again, those weights, the beads are going out further, so they do a whole lot more good than the weight further in on the wheel. So it's going to make a huge difference. Thing goes down the road great, not a problem there. If you like what we're doing, drop us a comment. Let me know. Have you used these beads? Have you used something else? Like I said, tennis balls, golf balls, something like that. Let me know. If you like what we're doing, give me a subscribe, give me a follow. Let me know. Trying to get some more stuff cranking here, get out on the trail here a little bit more, and we'll catch you guys out there on the next one.